There's been a lot of activity from the First Descendant team the past day with posts on X and their YouTube community page, and it's looking like the devs have taken player feedback into account for the upcoming Season 1, as well as other changes and improvements. What's up, gamers, and welcome back to the channel. I've got another First Descendant video here for you, but before we dive into it too deep, do me a favor, head to the comments, let me know, do you still main the same character since launch, or have you switched to a different Descendant? While you're down there, be sure and hit the like button so that we can get this video out to more viewers and show the YouTube algorithm that my channel still matters. Yesterday, we got a new Dev Note 12 on the First Descendant Season 1 Invasion Update announcement. The Dev Note covers a lot of stuff, going into details on Haley Scott, the new Descendant that's coming, but also goes over some of the changes and improvements that are coming as well. Most notably are the addition of ETA 0 or ETA 0, the new merchant that's coming late in Season 1, which I really wish was coming much sooner. And I'm not sure if ETA 0 or ETA 0 is how you're going to pronounce their name, but for now, I'm just going to say ETA 0. Also, we've got the improvements to void fragments, but I think the big one for me is going to be the socket type saving feature. Anyway, let's go over this here with the highest difficulty infiltration operation and ETA 0 because they're kind of lumped together here in this section. So it says in Season 1, the highest difficulty of the infiltration operations will be added. It's a proving ground to test and polish your optimized builds, form a team, or challenge yourself to more difficult infiltration operations in public matchmaking. Prove the strength of the Descendants and acquire loot that can only be obtained in more difficult infiltration operations. Let me just say this real quick. I don't know how far they're going to take the difficulty of the game. If the void intercepts are just going to continuously get more difficult, or if at some point the Descendants are going to catch up. Are we going to have an increase in weapon levels, Descendant levels? Is the cap going to be raised? Are we going to get better, more efficient mods? I'm not sure what the devs are expecting the players to do once we've reached a certain point in difficulty, but I hope that that gets addressed at some point. I don't know what the future looks like in that regard. But talking about ETA 0, it says, along with this, a mysterious merchant, ETA 0, visits Albion. So every time he shows up, he's going to have a variety of products that can be purchased with exclusive currency. With each visit, he brings different products. Since he visits Albion with blueprints for Descendants and ultimate weapons, and occasionally hard to find consumables, don't miss out on visiting ETA 0. And you know what? I just want to talk about the exclusive currency for just a moment. I don't know what that's going to be. I don't know how we're going to obtain it. I don't know what the prices are going to be. And I'm really hoping that that is something that is implemented into the game early, at the beginning of Season 1, rather than as soon as this ETA 0 shows up. I would like at least enough time to get a pocket full of this exclusive currency before the vendor shows up, because that would be a mad dash, trying to run around getting this currency if it drops at the same time as the vendor. So hopefully the developers are going to give us this currency ahead of time. Let us start building it up a little bit. As far as the Descendant blueprints, are we just going to get one random blueprint, or will we have the opportunity to get a complete Descendant set of stuff? How is that going to work? So hopefully these things have been worked out, and they will continue to be worked out, but I do have some questions in that regard. So now moving on, the next thing I want to talk about is a void fragment and fusion reactor loop improvements. It has been improved so that playing void fragments once on hard difficulty now grants enough void shards to use the fusion reactor once. Consequently, the amount of void shards rewarded in special operations has also been increased. Additionally, void shards required for the fusion reactor have been consolidated into a single type. Now the same type of void shards will drop from both void fragments and the fusion reactor within the same battlefield. This change enhances the convenience of farming void shards and optimizes the monster placement for representative void fragments of each attribute. Finally, the fusion reactor now requires void shards when using the reconstructed device rather than at the start of the mission. This adjustment ensures that void shards are not consumed if you accidentally enter the fusion reactor. And I'm going to be honest with you, the whole void shard fragment thing has kind of been a mess since the start of the game. There's no part of void shards and grinding for void shards that I think is necessary. So I don't know how that's going to work. Hard difficulty now grants enough void shards to use the fusion reactor once. Is that going to be across all void fragments? Because there are some void fragments, the non-attribute fragments that drop, 3334 or something like that, and they're pointless. They're absolutely pointless to farm. So unless they change that as well, I don't know how this is all going to work. I don't vibe with having to go get currency. Essentially, it's what it is. It's a currency. It's a toll to pay the toll booth to fight a boss. Yeah, it's quicker. I get it. You know, we're kind of skipping the whole drawn out battle with a void intercept boss, but still at the same time, we're paying a road tax here, you know, and I think that the whole process could just be eliminated completely. Personal opinion here, hot take, I know, but I really want to see void fragments way more simplified or just completely gotten rid of. So here's the big one. Here's the one that the community has been really anxious about, and I personally I've been on the fence with. I have been holding off on my Descendant builds since I heard that they were going to be making these changes, because I didn't want to invest into anything and then have it not work out the right way. So I've just been holding off. I've literally been kind of at a standstill when it comes to developing my Descendants. So anyway, socket type saving feature improvements. Now, once you assign a socket type, the socket type granted to that slot is permanently saved. So you can easily change it to the previously granted socket type at any time. For example, if a Descendant changes the Almandine socket to a Malachite socket, you can easily choose between those two in that socket afterward. Additionally, the socket type applied to loadout setting 1 can also be used for setting 2 and 3 as well, allowing you to grant multiple socket types only to the slots that require multiple socket types depending on your build. I feel like that could be worded a little better, but what I'm gathering is that you will take a catalyst and you will now apply it. If you have a socket that has, say, Almandine or Malachite, you can now apply a second socket to that existing slot and then switch back and forth. But what it doesn't say is how many types can you assign to the same slot, because there's lots of different types. And here's the other problem. Now we're still going to have to go to the trouble of still applying a whole catalyst once again to the same slot. Probably could be worse, but I think it could definitely be better. And the community also has something to say about that. So here's a comment on the socket types, and I have to say I 1000% agree with this. It says, this is a weird way to do this. All we wanted was for us to get the ability to change already unlocked sockets to a different symbol. You guys do an excellent job on quality of life, but you seem to be failing to understand this is cumbersome for no reason, and making the community re-level characters for build diversity. Mind you, characters we've already fully unlocked is just bad game design no matter how you try to understand it. And I doubt you are really leaning on forcing catalyst purchases. If someone is trying to encourage that, demote them to coffee fetcher. All this is doing is rubbing the fan base the wrong way. And I have to agree. We've already gone to the trouble of unlocking this socket. There should be, at this point, we should just have the option of turning it into a universal socket, one that just fits all types. But at this point, we're still going to be re-leveling our character, going to the trouble of still getting more catalysts. I feel like sockets they still may not be in a good place when this update happens. at least we'll have more diversity for being able to customize our builds, but we're still going to do it at the cost of re-leveling our characters every single time. So this just extends the grind, because now the variations are going to be much more broad, and that means a lot. So I think the only step that we're going to be missing out on is the fact that we're not going to be removing a slot only to re-level a character to put a slot back in, if that makes any sense. Hopefully it does. Now, on top of all of this, just a few hours ago, we also got a revamped roadmap for Season 1, and it looks like the last 2 sets of updates for the season were squished together and bumped up to October 10th. We got this dev comment here that says, greetings, Descendant. This is First Descendant producer Lee Byung-jun. First, I would like to thank all Descendants for enjoying our game. Recently, I've noticed that many of you are concerned about our current update schedule for Season 1, and as a result, we decided to readjust it. To make a long story short, we decided to move up our update schedule for October 30th to October 10th. Previous schedule was initially planned to provide consistent updates every month before each content release. However, I have to admit that I failed to fully meet your expectations. So rather than splitting into 3 partial updates, Season 1 will be divided into 2 updates, one on August 29th and the other on October 10th. Along with the above change, we've also begun examining the update methods for the upcoming seasons in the future. In order to do so, our previous 3 updates for Season 1 will be merged into the second update, which, as mentioned above, will take place on October 10th. Currently, the dev team is working on continuous updates and hotfixes since our official launch. We're taking various measures and methods, such as reorganizing the development process and even actively recruiting additional personnel. We will do our best to prepare better updates that will make you satisfied. Thank you. So yeah, it looks like we got a revamped roadmap. And honestly, though, I just want to say this looks a little bit messy, like they just kind of slapped it together without much thought of how the content was going to be split. But it is what it is. I think my biggest concern is with all the untested stuff that we're getting for the new season and the progression system in particular that I didn't cover in this video, but other people have covered probably much better than I could. I mean, I was under the impression that the whole point of a preseason was to experiment with how the game was going to function, get a lot of player feedback, which admittedly they've done, and they have made some great changes because of it. But then take that feedback and craft a better, more robust first season. I can only say that aside from the new Descendant that we're getting this season, I have a lot of concerns for how the implementation of some of these changes are going to go. It seems like some of the things are being streamlined, which is fantastic, and then other things are getting potentially unnecessarily more involving. Do we need a new special currency for the upcoming vendor? Sure, fine, that's great, but I don't want to have to add one more thing to my list of things to grind for. Let the currency be an organically gained item that we just get from doing stuff. And then when our new vendor shows up, we have some cash in our pockets with this new currency, and then we can go spend it. I don't want to go to the vendor, see that some item is just barely more expensive than what I have, and then have to go back out into the field and grind for an hour just to get some RNG drop, some currency drop that is in some weird oddball value, like 3 or 7, when I need 4 or 8 more currency. Now, also, and this will be a personal beef of mine, I really hope that the vendor special currency, right, this exclusive currency for the vendor, is not going to show up in the cash shop. That would be not good. I think that needs to stay separate. I don't know that it is. I'm just saying I really hope that it doesn't show up in the cash shop. So there it is, guys. Lots of stuff that we've had to go over, and I feel like I just barely scratched the surface. Season 1 is just days away at this point, and we're going to start getting some of these new features implemented, and fingers crossed is all I can say. But I want to get your take on all of this. What's your opinion on the upcoming changes to the game? and of course the revamp of Season 1, along with the new roadmap. So do me a favor, head to the comments and let's get some conversation going. Guys, that's it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, then make sure to give it a like, and of course, be sure to sub for more First Descendant content. Also, make sure that you hit the bell icon so that you can get in ahead of the unsubbed viewers and give it a watch. Have an amazing day, everyone. Keep being awesome, and I will see you all in Albion.